Welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from the real, well, it's not the real Slim Shady. I was just making a joke. The real Slim Shady. Slim Shady. Slim Shady asked the question, who won the fight in the Battle of the Jerks, the Battle of the Jerk Rivals? Gary Oak versus Seto Kaiba. Oh, hey, Ashy boy. Yeah, I have not brushed up my Gary impression. So this is a loaded question because they're two very different series. One is yeah, I'm pretty sure Kaiba's a billionaire. One's a billionaire with tech genius, all the tech in the world. And the other is a little kid in a world with legalized cockfighting. so, um, except the birds in this case aren't birds. They're animals that can use elemental powers, destroy landscapes and even rend the world to ash if they truly want to. So, it's a loaded question. Gary, and I'm not going to go over Gary's team per se or whatever. This is actually more of, what's the best way to put it, this type of verses? Is looking at different scenarios that we're looking at. If we're just talking about Gary getting pissed off at Kyle, like, hey, you want to go, buddy? He's like, please. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. You're a kid. I'd beat the crap out of you. I have no time to play. I have no time to play children's games. Why don't you run along, boy? And Gary's like, well, Ewan just comes in, tries to deck Kaiba. Kaiba just do what he did to Joey. Nice grip. Let me show you mine. Just like, ah! It's like he just whooped Joey's ass. I like that. I always remember that scene. Yeah, Gary would just lose in a straight up fist fight. But let's get a little fun here. So Kaiba has access to a lot of tech. Now, generally speaking, he usually has a dual disc on him at all time. At all time, he carries a dual disc with him. He's got a jet in the shape of a blue eyes white dragon. I bet you, I guarantee you, that jet's more than just a jet. Like, that jet probably has some defense capabilities to it, just the way it's designed. But ultimately, he doesn't really have much in the way of tech, per se, that would, on him normally, that would really be useful in a fight. But using this picture right here to clarify, when you go to the last movie they did, oh god, what was the last name of the last movie they did? Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not Battle Through Time. Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie. Which one was that again? I'm actually forgetting the name of that one. Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, not the Pyramid of Light. That one was just, yeah. Which one here? The Pyramid of Light... Dark Sides of the Dimensions. That was a really good movie, actually. I mean, there's still some logistic issues, sure, but there's always logistic issues. In that movie, he developed, I believe it was the Bleeding Edge dual disc. It's kind of like Stark's Bleeding Edge armor. It's more compact. It's more visualized. But it was strong enough to offset the dematerializing magic that the villain had. The magic that the villain had could dematerialize you, send you to an alternate dimension and all that. It was powerful enough to counter that. So it clearly actually has some physical world implications. The tech is that strong. So that begs the question then. Would Kaiba's Bleeding Edge tech be enough to overcome a Pokemon on Gary's team? And I mean, I'll off the top of my head go with some of the ones I know he had. I know his starter was a Blastoise, so he always has that. We've seen him with an Electivire, an Umbreon. Arcanine was a big one he used. Golem, Nidoking, among others. So we know a Magmar is what he used against Ash in his fight. I'm trying to remember actually what Pokemon he used in his fight. And sorry if I'm doing that. My arm's a little, I think I messed my arm up at work yesterday. It's fine ultimately, but just need some rest. Yeah, it's one of those things where is Kaiba's tech strong enough to overcome the elemental abilities of Pokemon? And I would argue maybe. They make implications of the fact that Kaiba's tech is so strong that the holograms aren't just holograms. It's almost like, what's the best way to put it? The holodeck in Star Trek. It's like the holodeck in Star Trek where, yes, it's creating images, but those images can actually be physically interacted with. And you can actually, to some degree, physically feel their presence in the real world. That's kind of what this is. That's what kind of the Bleeding Edge Duelist kind of did. Because when those holograms are destroyed, you shouldn't be like feeling gusts of wind or anything like that. You shouldn't have to be like whoosh. But that's what happens. Those you get, and that was before even the bleeding edge disc. Is that that's how Kaiba actually beat him in Duelist Kingdom. He cheated, mind you, but that's how he beat him. Yugi. And say, even though I beat him in Duelist Kingdom, he's considered the greatest duelist. You cheated, you cheated, you son of a bitch. You know you would have lost that fight. It's like, come on. It's like, wow, you arrogant prick. You really thought you won that fight fair and square? You did not win that fight fair and square. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't think I let that slide, Kaiba. Even though you are one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh characters, at least original series characters, you're still. Honestly, my favorite original series character probably is Joey. I just like Joey because Joey is us. He's not the main character. He's the everyman in there. He's not a billionaire. He's not the king of games. He's just that guy doing his best and having fun doing it. And you know, how many of us can't relate to Joey in some way? Minus the fake Brooklyn accent. No. Anyway, so yeah, I would say that Kaiba could summon holograms that might not actually be able to do much against the in terms of offense against the Pokemon on Gary's team, but would be enough to actually cause pause to the Pokemon and hold them off to some degree. So if he summons Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, that would probably scare the living piss out of those guys a little bit. And Kaiba isn't. You want to talk about Gary being smart for his age? Kaiba is a genius. Let's be clear. And a strategist. He knows how to get under his opponent's skin. He knows how to strategize his way out of an event. If he really needs to, he could, in theory, call upon Obelisk the Tormentor. Because he was able to do it. Wait, the God cards were destroyed. How was he able to summon that monster? It's not a monster. It's a god. I like that. That was a good scene, too. So, yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, definitely Kaiba could beat Gary through a matter of technological manipulation and strategy. Now, what's the likelihood of that actually happening? I'll admit it's not high, unfortunately. Just because, again, we don't know the real offensive... crud, is this someone important or I'm going to have to stop this video? No, I'm not. Okay. Yeah, now I don't bother redoing the video. Now I just like, okay, can I just get rid of this person? Yes, I can. Because all of it's just been robocalls and all that stuff. Anyway, where I was going with this is that the holograms kind of make it is a kind of, what's the best way to put it? It's difficult to say whether or not they could actually affect the real world in any serious way. We know they clearly have a physical presence. So in theory, they should be able to do damage to the real world. In which case, Kaiba, I know he moved away from the military background, but can you imagine the military applications of that? Gozaburo would have been proud. I don't know. Ultimately, I would say that Gary probably would win simply because the amount of Pokemon he would have out. Though granted, I think Gary probably wouldn't go more than like 2 Pokemon just because of his, code as a trainer. But that would probably still be enough because his Pokemon would have the durability, strength, all that to overcome Kaiba's holograms ultimately. But again, if we were to say in a straight fight what would happen, Kaiba would beat him in like a straight fist fight. There is one other thing, though, that I have to mention that we should bring into consideration is Kaiba's Blue Eyes jet. It is roughly the size of those Blue Eyes, except it has a physical presence in the world. And like I said, you look at that thing, there's no way that thing doesn't have a defense system of some kind. There's just no freaking way. Now, what that defense system is, I doubt it's like armed to the teeth with machine guns and missiles. I doubt that. But maybe some energy beams, some hologram projectors of its own, flares, capture nets, that kind of stuff. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Electrified defense system, completely possible. And if that's the case, if Kaiba decides to bring the jet into the equation, there's a chance Kaiba could win. I mean, like an electrical defense system wouldn't do anything against a golem, which we know Gary does have on his team. But it would seriously hurt a Blastoise, and it would hurt pretty much any Pokemon that does not have an immunity or resistance to electrical types. So that would be very effective. Smoke screens, definitely probably has smoke screens on it. Oil slicks. So if you bring in the jet into the equation, Kaiba stands a much better shot. But I will still give it to Gary just because he's got Pokemon on his team that could probably carve through the jet if they can ignore the defense systems. Which something like a Golem, which is just pure durability and strength, could do that. A Nidoking, which we know Gary's had on his team before, could do that. That Blastoise, Death Battle calculated Blastoise's cans to be able to basically blast straight through steel and stone. So that whatever the Kaiba's jet is actually made of wouldn't last very long against a Blastoise's Hydro Pump. So there you go. And that's assuming Gary hasn't even picked up like Mega Evolution or Dynamax in it. Well, Dynamax wouldn't really matter per se. It had to be specific location. But a Mega Evolution, not out of the realm of possibility. We haven't seen Gary in a long time as far as I know. Ultimately, though, I'm going to go with Gary. I like Kaiba better, but I am going to go with Gary. But let me know in the comments below what you think, though. And now, don't get me wrong. Let me be clear. I am defining this fight by what they generally bring into battle on average. Kaiba would have his dual disc, his very new, cool dual disc, and the Kaiba jet, sure. If Kaiba were given time to prepare, like a Batman style kind of problem, he'd beat Gary in a heartbeat. He'd have tech available to take out every one of his team members. No problem. But that's not what we're doing with this fight. That we're doing it with what they generally bring into the fight. And with what they generally bring into the fight, I go Gary. But let me know in the comments below if you think different. If you do, that's cool. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Superior Magic, What If, anything we do on the channel. Put that in the comments below. I'll get that at some point. Hit that bell if you want notifications. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with What If. Later.